Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Insight to Action, where I bring in industry professionals and have them share their insight with you, the high school and college students. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Javi Sanchez, who is going to introduce himself here shortly. But I always like to do just a quick little front-end infomercial for those that would like to learn more about TalkShop and the programs that I operate for both high school and college students. The website will be on the screen shortly. Please feel free to reach out, even if you just want to explore and have a discussion to learn a little bit more about it. I welcome any conversation. Commercial aside, Javi, thanks for joining us. Would you please just tell us your role and your current company?
Absolutely. So I work for the Miami Dolphins Foundation. I'm the Director of Development and Partnerships, really focused in on the community side of things.
Excellent. And you've been within the Dolphins organization. I think you maybe have had a different role there, but still within the same organization. How long all in have you been with the Miami Dolphins?
Yeah, so I'm actually starting my third season this year. And since I began, I did start on the foundation side. So we do have two different pillars. We have the Miami Dolphins Foundation and then the Dolphins Cancer Challenge. That's our more health initiative. But I play a big role in both of those.
Got it. And then we're going to get into your background a little bit. We're not going to do a resume read here, but what I want to do is you might rewind the clock to some of your earlier experiences right out of college or even while you were in college. I'm not sure. I'll let you answer. But where was there like one moment or a series of moments where you realized that the skill of doing this, being able to look someone in the eye and having a conversation is an important skill and that's going to serve you well? Was there one moment or a series of events that maybe just led you to that?
Yeah, it's actually pretty funny that you mention it. Not anything I would have thought of a couple decades ago, but it began on stage. So my career started as a musician. My undergrad was in jazz trombone for the University of Miami. And I just realized that I wasn't the guy up front. I was the guy way in the back cracking the jokes usually. But I was back there and just realized the way that we impacted with crowds, the way that we communicated with audiences. I saw some singers that were just phenomenal at it, not just during singing, but actually the moments on stage. And I took some of those elements kind of as I was just growing through the ranks, going from undergrad to grad, and realized, you know what, I want a little bit more. I want a little more interaction myself. And it inspired me to start thinking and looking out of the box, went into a degree in music business. And all of a sudden you introduce the business side of things, and right smack in the middle, the most important thing was, how are you communicating? Musicians were all about their craft, their skill set, but the true business leaders, the ones that were succeeding, had an ability to just communicate a message, to persuade someone, to invoke an emotion, somebody that realized they had a need they filled. So that was really big for me. And I kept on that path. I was doing kind of my research, my own personal study, realizing in the boardroom, you're going to need to communicate one day. I wasn't sure I'd ever be in one, wasn't in my vision, but I thought it a big asset. And believe it or not, it led to teaching, because I felt like if you could teach, if you could stand in front of a class, sometimes you're prepared. I'm not gonna lie, now I can say it. Sometimes you're not, but you know the subject matter. You got to be able to keep people's attention. And all those different elements kind of put together just really helped me focus in on communication is key. Anyone, a child, an adult, a grown-up, a CEO, they're going to listen to you for probably a few seconds. And if you do better, those seconds will turn into minutes or hours, or ideally employment or long-term relationships.
It's an interesting point. There was one little bit that I'm just going to just add my 2 cents, not going to add to your answer, just going to add a quick little bit of insight from my side. In the first 7 years that I was involved in the NFL, I worked with a lot of the national radio and TV crews that would come in and cover the 49ers. So I got access to working with a lot of people that I honestly grew up kind of, I don't want to say idolizing, but, admiring their work. And a lot of times I would just be talking with them during pre-production meetings or actually during commercial breaks. And it's amazing how many people mention something that you said in a similar stretch, that look, drama, acting, stage presence really comes through, whether you're on radio and TV. And I can't tell you how many broadcasters that I've interviewed full form that have said that. So I guess in a way, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but there's a similar piece to what you just mentioned there.
Yeah, passion. I think that's what brings it together. Do what you believe, do it with all your heart, communicate it, learn how to get it from your brain to let the others feel it. Yeah, Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I'll pivot off of that. Was there a series of moments, and again, whether you'd like to use the Dolphins as the example, or maybe some other opportunities, volunteer or internships or full-time jobs that you've had before your tenure with the Dolphins, where you networked and or you interviewed and you did something that helped you differentiate from the other candidates? That's such a big piece right now for college students, especially now. I mean, now more than ever, they're in a really, it's a tough spot to interview like this over Zoom and not have the chance to meet. But is there anything that you can share, any insight in terms of maybe some things that you did, either you knew that you did it or you got the feedback after, that helped differentiate yourself both with networking and or the interview process?
Yeah, I think sincerity was a big one for me. Just being sincere to who I am, who I was, and just really adopting the fact that it's important to learn the craft. You don't just walk up to somebody and tell them what you want to do or why you want to succeed. I've learned time and time again, like, show them that you're authentically involved in it, that it's natural to you, that it's sincere to what you believe in, and somebody's going to want those principles to support them. Someone's going to want those principles to align with their business. I'll give you an example. When I used to work with the Miami Marathon back in the early days, and I didn't start running when I first started working there. I was coordinating the music, the entertainment, the programming, the announcing for the events. I was coordinating all those elements, but I realized if I'm truly going to get involved in this, I need to start running. Running a marathon needs to not be intimidating to me. It needs to be something I can speak to with confidence. Running in general, cycling, triathlons. So I dipped my toe in the water. I figured it out. I muscled through it. I got through the initial phases, and I reprogrammed myself to truly believe it. And that led to the next step. And then following that, it's interesting. You talk about job interviews. I've definitely been on a lot of job interviews, pretty much for every job that I've ever accepted. But in all reality, the interview hasn't been what's made it a successful experience from me. The individuals oftentimes had the ability to look through my record or see a reference or just see some connection to turn around and say, this guy fills a gap that we have, that we need. He has major elements that are interesting to us. And I would do my research, and I really tried to stick true to what I believe in and what I thought I could excel at.
I want to pick up on something that I heard, and I want to clarify before I dig into it, because I think it's a really interesting point that when I work with my coaching clients, the college students, and help them through the job process, because the job search process is just that. And I said, look, there's two different choices. You can be a problem solver or a problem creator. Which one do you think they're going to want? That being said, I want to just repeat it and make sure I captured what you said. Look, I want to be able to address their needs the best way possible. How can people do that? There's research out there. How would you guide to say something? Look, find out what people are working on, find out what their initiatives are, and maybe you can position yourself, the job candidate, to those initiatives. Is that? Let me ask you if that question makes sense. First of all, because it's in my head, it's making perfectly good sense.
I completely get what you're saying, and I also get why it's a hard question to answer. I'll take it a few steps back, if I may.
Please.
Investments. We don't know who we're going to be in 10 years. We don't know what profession we're going to line up in. But if you're making the investments in yourself, to speak from experience, there was graphic design that was in my path. There was Excel tweaking that was in my path. There was once an opportunity that somebody needed somebody to stand up in front of a stage or on a stage and address an audience that was in my path. Teaching, all those different things were various investments that I knew aligned with what I had the potential to do. And every time an opportunity arose, it didn't matter who called in sick that day or what individual no longer worked with the company. I knew I could fill in the gap. So if we needed somebody to come in clutch for a last minute resource, I may not be the best graphic designer, but the graphic designer in our building knows that there is a backup. And I'm not speaking for the Dolphins because they have a fantastic team, but having worked for smaller organizations, that was often very necessary. So being versatile, but also just being accountable and reliable to an organization. Think about, turn the hat around, be that manager and say, when times are tough, is this individual going to help get me through? Is this individual going to do whatever it takes to get me through? Do they already know what different skill sets that could help get us through? So I kind of turned the question around a little bit, but I always felt the more you can equip yourself by investing in yourself early on, whether it's a foreign language or a different skill set, so long as it aligns with your general guide, your general purpose, it's going to benefit you down the road.
Right. You mentioned something that was a few questions ago, but I want to bring it back into the mix. And I said, look, just being sincere is really what helped separate you a lot of times during your interview process. Being genuine, being authentic, being sincere. Look, some of those are kind of trite comments, but I think at the end of the day, I'm completely going to agree with you. That being said, I've been in the NFL, and I know you have as well. And I'm going to assume a few things here, that now that you're in the mix with the Dolphins, you've probably had people hit you left, right, and center from LinkedIn, from direct emails, from phone calls into the front office, because people do want to work in the NFL. They think one thing, maybe they think it's a little more glamorous than it actually is, depending on the role. My question is this, setting the table that way, how have you seen, or what's capturing your attention from current college students, whether they're down in South Florida or anywhere else in the US, that just want to get that connection with you because you're part of the Dolphins? Maybe they do some things that do capture your attention, and maybe they're doing things that maybe, you know what, look, this is not working. So maybe you could share a little bit of both, not to be negative, but just set the tone in a realistic way. Hey, these are the things that will capture my attention. So it's just your opinion.
Yeah, so that's a great one, actually. So I've been a judge for Miami Herald's Silver Knight Awards. It's a scholarship program for community impact for high school students. I've done that for a number of years, and me and a couple of the other judges, we always, we're always so humbled by 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, either juniors or seniors in high school, and the amount of impact that they have the ability to make at that age. And these are community-focused projects. So we've seen everything from individuals volunteering for several straight years. We've seen individuals that create their own nonprofits. We've seen individuals that sometimes have support from their parents to create something bigger and guidance. But then on the flip side, we've also seen individuals that leverage the fact that, I don't want to say leverage, but they use that energy from not having parents to make an incredible impact. So I've found that that movement, that impact, that motion, that inspires us, and that has the ability to supercharge anybody. I work for an incredible team. The Miami Dolphins organization is just, it's full of heart all the way from the top to the bottom. Obviously, Mr. Ross has done incredible things for not only the South Florida community, but through his own organization, Rise. So many impactful things that we've all done. Jason Jenkins is, if you follow him on social, you just realize he's the best. He's absolutely phenomenal at leading philanthropic community initiatives that just really drive impact. And all those elements, if you want to know who we are, if you want to study us, if you want to get my attention from day one, you already understand that. You understand that philanthropy matters, that community matters, that going back to your roots, improving your hometown, and making that initiative to help somebody that needs a lending hand, all of that goes hand in hand with what we do. We've done everything, and I'm really proud to be a part of this organization. The passion is true and sincere. We've done everything from food relief programs to Nat Moore Endowment Scholarship Fund. You were talking about being starstruck earlier. Like I get to work with some great guys. And then there's some female leaders in our industry too. Real proud to announce the way they've taken over some of their roles as everything from CIO to very, very impressive people that I just had the opportunity to learn from, but have a huge heart and commitment to our community. And it's actually helped us from so many perspectives. Our organization represents the largest fundraising event in all of the NFL, the Dolphins Cancer Challenge. We're now just over 10 years into it, and we've raised over $39.2 million specifically for cancer research down here in Miami. So it's nice because it brings it back home, but it also allows us to truly show impactful results.
I just want to touch on Jason Jenkins just for a moment, because I got the opportunity to be able to see him and work with him side by side when he was with the 49ers early on in his career. All I'm going to say is this. I'm going to agree and completely repeat what you just said. If you want to see how philanthropy is done and done right. All you need to do, just like you said, is follow him. And you know what? I think that there's like 3 Jason Jenkins in South Florida. I do not know how he's at all these various places throughout the course of any given week. Unbelievable the work that he's doing. So anyway, Jason, I've gotten a chance to know, so I'll give him a virtual pat on the back because it really is impressive. And it's like you said, he's doing it right. So I've just got a couple of quick questions because this is kind of what's on the tip of the brain of most college students right now that are either a junior or senior and they're looking to make their connections and looking to network, looking to interview, but yet they're doing it like you and I are doing it right now. They're doing it on a screen. So interviewing in itself, when you get the chance and you've networked yourself to the point to meet with someone in person, that's always a little bit of a sweaty palm dance to begin with, right? There's some nerves, and that's natural. If you're not feeling it in your gut, then you're probably not in the right spot. But now there's the added layer of doing it over Zoom or Skype. Maybe there's some people that are still meeting face-to-face, socially distanced. What guidance or tips or techniques can you say, or can you offer rather, to people that now have to interview and network over this format virtually? Is there anything that you could, I mean, we're all navigating it as we go. Is there anything that you can share?
Well, first off, I'll give you a pat on the back here, a virtual one, of course. You started this program. That was an initiative that made an impact. It made a difference. Obviously, you had the resources, you had the ability, you had the creative thinking, but you had the drive to turn around and say, I'm going to make a positive impact out of this. So that demonstrated a skill set that I think many have the ability to learn from. This wasn't somebody, I'm not sure if somebody required you to do it, but it was just one of those things that you took upon yourself. That stands out. Obviously, this isn't a job interview here, and if not, you got the key, by the way. But the vision here is just like, don't rush into it. I know this sounds tough, but now might not be the time. That it might be, it might not be what you're expecting right now. That's not a bad thing. Don't quit. You're in this for the long haul. This is a marathon, not a sprint. I hate to be cliche, of course, but the goal here is stay focused, stay positive, stay supportive, and just continue making an impact. I'm seeing a lot more individuals and corporations right now turn to philanthropy and community impact. Advertising is changing. People are no longer turning around with their traditional marketing and advertising agency style campaigns. They're turning around looking for sincerity. They're looking for, and I know I keep going back to that, but again, it's what I align with. Find those core principles within yourself. Find some hobbies. Take yourself out of your normal environment that will enrich you in different ways, because now's the time. This is the time to work under the hood, because as things start to open back up and things to start to come back to, I know a lot of people are calling it the new normal, the floodgates are going to open and things are going to start to boom pretty quickly thereafter. What have you done to excel yourself? If you're a graduating college student or a graduating senior, realize that there's several hundreds of thousands that are just like you. What are you doing to make yourself stand out? That's going to make yourself a little different then. And I know you wanted the answer from me, but unfortunately I can't give that answer. They have to find it for themselves. And it takes a little bit of creativity and that inner struggle, but also more importantly, the patience. You gotta wait for it. Your time will come, but it may not be when you think it's coming.
No, and absolutely right. You can guide, and that's what I do. I guide and I develop some key skills to add to your point there, because again, it was your opinion, and so it's valid, right? But in this day and age that we're doing this over a screen, it's not just the subtleties of look at the camera and not the screen. There's some differences that can really make impact. Making sure that your digital branding matches. Can you articulate yourself with clarity and with confidence? Those are the skills that the Talk Shop programs are all about. Yep. They have to be, at the end of the day, they have to own their brand. They have to create it, protect it, and put it out there. Which leads me to my last question, I think. I may have misspoke. I thought that was my last question. Maybe not. Just don't know. Social media. There's probably umpteen different apps that are in design and development that'll be out before I know it. But I'm a big LinkedIn user, for example. I'm an old guy, so I can use Facebook. College students, let me just ask you this. The question is this. Do you, as a potential hiring manager or someone else within your team, how closely do they pay attention, or do they look at a college student's social media platform immediately to just kind of maybe in a way rule some people out or elevate some people? Is there any fact from your side of things on that piece alone?
Yeah, I want to get to know you. I want to get to know you quickly. I have a big responsibility with you. If you're going to be somebody that's in my department, or even worse, if you're going to be somebody that's someone else's department, if I'm interviewing for somebody that's going to report to somebody else, they're expecting my word to turn around and say, this is a good candidate. This is what this candidate can bring to the table. I know that social media especially evolves throughout years. You know, what I might post of a young child that's mine might be a picture of a school or you know, somehow or other involvement. But as they go through those years, maybe some photos are comical at a time, or innocent at a time, or with good gesture. But you got to realize everything that you're putting out there at some point or other is vulnerable to somebody else watching it for opinion. In other words, that photo that you think is questionable, I personally have a very conservative rule of thumb. If I'm not comfortable with it being on the front page of the Miami Herald, I'm not posting it. If you want to learn about me, you can go to my social pages. I'm going to try to be somewhat sincere. You know, I want to spread positive energy. You don't often find me complaining or ranting, although it's sometimes I want to, about things that maybe I just find that aren't right. Because there are things that are not right. I do believe that. However, sometimes I just keep those to myself, or I keep those to a conference room, or more direct lines of communication. But I do firmly believe that anything you put out there, someone could bring back, or just catch in poor timing.
That's a great point. Half the college students may not even know this term of, hey, if you don't want yourself above the fold, that's an old newspaper term. You don't want yourself on the headlines. That should be your guiding light. I don't want to end on an upswing. Not that was negative. It's realistic, and that's why I asked, because I think it's important that college students know they are a brand. They need to act as though they are the CMO of their own brand. If they don't know what that acronym is, I teach them how to be their own chief marketing officer and how to put out, create, and protect the brand, because no one will do it any better than they'll be able to do it themselves. Social media is easy. That's the easy part. It's verbalizing who they are. If they have the chance to meet with someone like yourself at an NFL franchise, they got to be able to articulate who they are face to face, or in this case, online. Last question, Javi, before we kind of wrap it up. Branding. What's the one, or maybe there's an example or two where you've seen someone that's just, it's been creative, not where it's like over the top cute, where it dazzles you, but it's almost too cute. But what has someone done that's creative, that's caught your attention as it relates to how they've branded themselves? Could be an email, a personal letter, something they're doing on their social media platform, that how they're creating their presence that's caught your attention.
Yeah, interesting. And it's funny, the first things that went through my mind, I got a twist it somehow to ended up on a positive, but the first thing that went through my mind are the things not funky fonts, backgrounds, all that kind of basic stuff. You know, it immediately, you got to look at it from the perspective of someone needs to see it and they need to get it quickly. You know, a close friend has a hashtag that she says, "Don't give back, just give." You know, so that one kind of stuck with me. And so shout out to Heather for that one. But it stuck with me for a minute because it just turned around and said, does the person have that in them? I come from a philanthropic background. My focus is on health and fitness, everything from entertainment to marathon running, and now with the Miami Dolphins Foundation. So that's a little bit of what aligns with the profession that I'm currently in. So from my perspective, does that message come across from them? Are they doing it because the job is asking them to, or are they doing it because it's who they are? And it's the little things that are going to stand out. If I see that you've volunteered for 4 straight years at your local children's hospital, that's impactful. That's sustainable. I didn't touch on that, but it's a huge word that I always use in class. Are you doing it for one day, or are you doing it for multiple? Are you doing it for years? And if you're maintaining that, if you're sustaining that, that's going to be much more impressive than anything you can put on a LinkedIn page.
Absolutely. Javi, as we kind of wrap up, I want to say thank you again for taking the time, sharing some fantastic insight that I know multiple college students should pay attention to. Is there anything in terms of initiatives, personal blog, company site, anything that you'd like to promote? I want to make sure I give you the opportunity to do that. If there is, great. If there's not, that's okay too. But the mic, as they say, is yours.
No, I appreciate that, but there's a lot of organizations I support and I believe in, that I'm tied to, but really it's about the individuals, the students that you're impacting. I just want to turn it around and say thank you. A lot of individuals could benefit from something like this, and lots of resources out there, but happy to support Talk Shop on this one.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you turning it around. Kind words. I appreciate that. I appreciate you taking the time, sharing your stories, some of your insight. We could go a lot longer, but I know we tried it, maybe we'll do it again somewhere down the road and get more insight from you. But I'd be remiss if I didn't say good luck in week 2 as well.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Hey, I'm in the same boat. All right. Appreciate it. Javi Sanchez with the Miami Dolphins, taking some time, sharing great insight on insight to action. We look forward to staying in touch.
All right. You take care.